All right, so Lou, you're gonna be looking at me. You're my brother. I know you pretty well. I still think here's things like we all have things that sometimes we don't tell the world. We keep to ourselves. The whole point of this is, today you're an incredible human being, and you deserve all the flowers that you're receiving in your life, and will continue to receive. And I think the rest of the world should know who you are. And this is your chance to kind of tell that. And because like we hang out with ourselves and whatnot, people see what we see on social media, but like this is an unfiltered look. So this is not like a scripted interview. This is a chill back conversation. If you want to get deep with it, you can get deep with it. I think when I ask you something, if you can just repeat the question back to yourself, then we go into it. But yeah, this is your chance to tell the world who you are. So I'd love to lead this interview off with, who is Louis Loya?
That's a good first question. I'd say Lewis, hard worker, consistent, driven, determined. I think on the other side of those things, how do you get there? I think I've seen a lot of hardship in my life too. A lot of pain, loss, struggle, kind of getting it out the mud, as they say. No real handouts. So I just try to be consistent every single day. And now I think that's just for me right now. I think what that means is just running. It's obviously like how you and I met and got super, super close and wouldn't take any of it back. And so I think outside of that, people probably know me, depending on like where you met me in my life. Might know different versions of Lou. But I think right now I'm super focused and determined and dialed.
Yeah, I see it. We all see it. The people that are around you every day. But like, some of the words that I used to describe you to other people is like superhuman, a machine, like unlimited engine, and some of the things you just touched on. I kind of understand why you're like this, because we just formulated a script for this beautiful piece that we're making, and I guess like some of the things that stood out to me was, we have talked about these things, right? Like the hardships, right? The pain, the feelings of abandonment at times. Like how have those things shaped you? Like, because at the very top of this is, right, like we're all a sum of all our choices and all our experiences, but like you didn't let all the negative things that happened to you in your life take you down a dark path. Maybe it did before, but like you climbed out of that. So how did these things, shape you into somebody that is just so relentless at attacking everything he does in life?
Yeah, I think to your point, like you just kind of mentioned it, like, and we talk about it all the time, right? Coming out those dark phases, or like realms that you can enter. You don't get to the light without being in darkness sometimes, or getting through that darkness. And I think where I am today is vastly different than where I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I think I had to go through some of that stuff, hit rock bottom, and kind of go through some of that self-induced, right? I think there's nature versus nurture and all this stuff, right? Like, you grow up in inner city Chicago, like sometimes trouble just finds you. But I do think that some of the hardships I went through early on were self-induced as well, in addition to like the environment I was in. And I think just hitting rock bottom and being in a place where every which way I looked just seemed like a dead end. I think having to go through that really young, I think that's the thing that like sticks out most when I'm thinking about these questions is just like I went through a lot of shit when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15 years old. And so I think what you see now is just like a byproduct of all the stuff I went through when I was super young. And that's why I don't take like relationships like this for granted, frankly, because I've seen a totally different, I've seen what life can be like. And so as I've gotten older and more mature, like I've definitely put like an emphasis on, I think, relationships that are just good for me and will continue to like, propel me into, those spaces that you kind of alluded to. Cause I don't think anything happens like by yourself. Now kind of have the mindset and the mentality of like, be the spark, like be the flame, like be the ignition. But I don't think I got there alone.
Was there, I like prodding these at this point, like even I can feel the emotion on your face when you're telling me these things. I know you're an emotional guy.
Yeah.
I know this, and that's a very, very good thing. But like, was there a catalyst? Was there some situation that happened to you where you're like, I would rather be the spark than and give other people energy in life versus receive it from others? Like, was there something that like caused you just to flip a switch in your brain?
Yeah. I mean, in high school, I lost one of my best friends to a swimming accident. And that was like one of the first like real like I think just experiences of loss I experienced at a super young age. And I was there when it happened, and I was actually swimming with him when it happened. So I was the closest person uh, to him when this accident kind of happened. And so um, I think going through something like that super young, having a lot of people that haven't been through a lot of hardship look at you, to see how you react to certain things, it just kind of, I think from that age, like from that moment, it was just kind of like an experience that really taught me, you know, no one's gonna feel bad for the shit you go through, or you can't expect people to feel bad for the stuff that you go through. In a way, it just taught me to be okay with like looking at life from a different vantage point in terms of, shit's gonna happen to you throughout your life. How are you gonna respond to the shit that inevitably you're gonna have to walk through? And I think like those types of thoughts, like really, really young, like 14, 15, going through loss, trauma, and like all the pain that comes with that, but then also like trying to dig myself out of that in any which way I could. I think like those are some of the thoughts I had of like, how do I want to live my life? Like, do I want to go through life pointing the finger at other people, or, which leads to bitterness and anger and all these other emotions that like I didn't want to embody. And so like to me, like how can I take that in stride and not let these negative things that I can't control impact how I'm going to live the rest of my life? And so I just think just like it's a mindset, you know. I think I've said this to you before. It's just like I wake up every day and I, call it negative, but like sometimes expecting to get knocked on my ass, you know? And I think it just makes me ready to just like get back up, wipe my knees off and dust myself off and just like keep going.
I think like we could sit here and talk for hours. Like truly, there's so many layers to you, and it's funny because I also want to be respectful of our crew and whatnot, and just the day we had. But like, I think there's so much to you that people will never know. I think that's the same for everybody, but like, I think they should know because you're such a dynamic individual. And like, I even looking at our relationship, I thought you were like a party kid when I first met you, and then randomly showed up to track one day at ComEd and was just dusting kids. And then now you're a co-founder of Demon Hours, which is like so dope. And everything you're doing in the running space and community, I'm like, you've turned into like from a civilian runner to a leader in this space. And you are a literal machine when it comes to performance. And I always want to revert back to a conversation that we had earlier this summer where like I really pressed you on certain things, and it's like why run 70 miles every fucking week? Like why put yourself through so much? Like you don't need to. Like what are you trying to prove to yourself? Like what are you trying to prove to the world?
I think when I first started to run, I think I was just running really helped me self-regulate. And that's just kind of what I discovered. I didn't start running to self-regulate. I think I was, you kind of alluded to just starting here and now I'm here in terms of just like with DH showing up to a track night and being in a different space in the running community now versus where I was a year ago. I didn't plan for any of that to happen. I didn't start running for as much as I love DH, like it just all kind of happened. One day I just I was just in a spot where I was actively looking to change my life, and then all of a sudden these things just started happening, and I just kind of flowed into it. And so like I just say that to say like I don't know if I'm like really trying to prove anything other than a lot of this stuff was for my own sanity and just like trying to find a way to cope with what I had been dealing with and carrying. And it, like a lot of things I do, is like I'm very all or nothing. And so like if you'll know if I care about some shit because I'm that type of person. And so like I found this thing and it was helping me, and all of a sudden like it just became like my new obsession. And it was just like one thing led to another, and I was just like, and I think it started off as a joke. Like earlier this year, like a friend was just like, why don't you run 10 miles every day? Like you run all the time. And it was kind of like a joke. And then I started doing it. I started to do it. And then I was running 70-mile weeks in the middle of January and February, like right after a block. And I had no business running like that, but they just found that it was this therapeutic ritual routine that like I found comfort in. And and now it's just like part of my daily routine. I don't know if I'm trying to prove anything to anyone other than just trying to be, for as corny as it sounds, like just like the best version of me out of fear of going back to, I guess, like the way I kind of used to be, which sounds kind of twisted, fucked up, but
let's unravel that though. Like your actions do all the talking, and like when I look at you, it's like I don't think I'd ever see you go back to that. But do you ever question whether there might be some type of situation or stimulus or that would send you back to that?
I think it's why I keep running. Yeah, I think it's why I still run the same way I do. And I also, I also grew up without my biological father, and so I think there's a lot of other things like from my past that, like, I've got like this fear of like abandonment, this like innate feeling. It's like deep rooted in things, and so when I get latched onto something, like I get super into it, and that's just like kind of where I'm at with running. Like it's just my new addiction, I guess. And so to answer your question, Dick, yeah, like I don't wake up scared, but there's times throughout most days where I get, this feeling. But the good thing is like running helps me process those things and actualize, whether or not like those feelings are real or if they're just feelings. And in most cases I go for a run and I'm good.
I want to give you the floor, and I want you to tell the camera, anybody, me, whatever, whoever you want to say this to, like, what you want other people to know about you. And, like, in your own words, that could be whatever you want. You can give me the floor on this. We have everybody who does these episodes kind of set their narrative.
Yeah. I'd say you're not bound by any experience that you've had. And so what I mean by that is like every day is legitimate opportunity to rewrite, either your past or continue writing your future story. And um, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Um, things don't change overnight, and you know, people that work hard tend to be blessed. And I know it sounds kind of stupid, but like that's honestly how I look at a lot of the things in my life. Of you can overcomplicate shit, but it's super black and white for me. Like if you work hard, like good things at some point like will happen. And I think a lot of people get hung up on like when things will go right for them, or like, I'm doing all this the right way. My peers are excelling in X, whatever field you're in. I think that for whatever reason, a lot of people just tend to compare themselves to other people, and all these experiences are singular. We're connected as people, and you know um, you should be connected to peers and your friends and have people that you can go to. But at the end of the day, like your experience is your experience, and progression isn't linear. um, and so I just try to wake up every day, frankly, with that mindset of just like, I'm gonna win today and worry about today. And keep it simple, I guess. Don't overcomplicate it.
Any final words? You got some big things you've been training for.
Yeah. We've been training all summer for the Toronto Marathon. We've been training for a really specific goal. Sub 3. We've been training for it for the last couple of summers. And so I'm super excited to go to Toronto in the next couple of weeks and hopefully just knock that out of the park. That'd be great. We've worked so fucking hard the last 4-ish months. And so that's coming up. Otherwise, any closing thoughts? I love you guys. This has been great. Thank you for helping me deliver this and communicate this. Super appreciative of you, Dre, and you, Lana, and everyone in the running community as well. I feel like the last year I've kind of been taken in, for lack of a better way of putting it. Like Dre, you kind of walked through that whole progression, but like I don't really feel like I was given a choice. I felt like I showed up to a track night one day and it was just like, you didn't really give me a choice. And so I don't know if I've ever actually properly thanked you for not giving me a choice. So thank you.